What's going on, guys? Welcome to another episode review for Vinland Saga Season 2. This is episode 4, I believe.
Yeah.
And with me, as always, I have Blue Spade.
hmm so picking up where we left off, that of course, what was it? The new character Snake comes in and reprimands his men for mistreating both Thorfinn and Einar. Well, pretty much like punishing what was it, Fox, by punching him in the face for they pretty much like physically mangling Thorfinn, just like slashing him all over his body, including slashing a part of his ear, his left ear. Um, so they pretty much Snake decides to treat both Thorfinn and Einar. Um, but what happens after that? Snake all of a sudden draws his sword in front of Thorfinn, which causes Thorfinn to react defensively, thinking that he was facing off against Askeladd.
Yeah, I kind of like how they did that. How he sees how like he sees Askeladd and Snake, and he kind of like channels his older self just to kind of like dodge around his attacks.
Yeah, and not only does this this tip off Snake believing that Thorfinn isn't what he appears to be, but it also sets off Einar as well. And this pretty much after getting Thorfinn patched up, Thorfinn immediately heads back into the woods to continue chopping trees in the forest. So Einar follows, and he asks Thorfinn if he's ever been to war and if he's ever killed anyone. And of course, Thorfinn replies that he has been ever since he was a child, but he can't remember the exact number of people he's ended up killing during that time during season 1. So it continues soon after, later that night, when both Einar and Thorfinn are sleeping. However, Einar ends up waking up. Pretty much thinking about what Thorfinn told him, and it pretty much he flashes back to the time when his entire village or his farm was destroyed by these raiders, and ended up killing both his sister and his mother.
Also, something else Einar was bothered by was something Thorfinn said was that nothing good had ever happened to him in his life.
Yeah, and pretty much. Well, he does bring that up to Thorfinn again, but of course, before that, Einar decides to pretty much strangle Thorfinn while he's asleep, and this in turn, Thorfinn, I guess, starts having nightmares of his time during Askeladd's company.
I think the reason why he did this too was because when Thorfinn was talking about how he had gone to war, and that he was fighting with, I think he specified that he was fighting with the Nords. So Einar kind of sees, because he mentioned that he was fighting with, alongside the Nords, that Einar kind of saw Thorfinn as the same as the raiders that had killed his family and raided his village. So that kind of he just kind of saw Thorfinn, that in Thorfinn, regardless of if Thorfinn actually being responsible for what happened to his family.
Yeah. And then, of course, we see the nightmare sequence of with Thorfinn. And if people haven't really caught on to this is the same action sequence that was used back in season 1. Only this time it was reanimated to make the soldiers look more demon-like of sorts.
I like how they did that.
But yeah, this of course causes Einar to Thorfinn to pretty much scream in his sleep again, until Einar decides to calm him down and wake him up after that.
Yeah, like Einar was pretty much on the verge of strangling Thorfinn to death, but he kind of relented eventually. And then of course, Thorfinn just kind of screams for quite a while. Like Einar just kind of sits there for a bit and I guess contemplates like what he wants to do, until he eventually just grabs hold of Thorfinn's hand or Thorfinn's arm, which kind of calms him down.
Yeah, and pretty much after that, Einar berates him for Thorfinn, claiming that nothing good has ever happened in his entire life. Of course, Einar calls him out on that, saying it's like you have a life right now. You have something to work for. You're giving food. So why are you saying that nothing good is happened to you when you're getting treated good right now?
Yeah,
So
I really like this conversation, like the way they handle it. Like Einar basically saying, like I don't know what you've been through and I can't begin to understand, basically, but he knows, like you said, it's just you have food and you're alive. I mean, and from his point of view, like how can you say that your life isn't worth living or nothing good has ever happened to you? But knowing what Thorfinn has been through, you can kind of see where he's coming from when he says that.
Yeah, it's eventually I'm guessing that Thorfinn will eventually tell Einar the whole story of what happened during this time with Askeladd. But
Yeah.
as of right now, Thorfinn, I guess in a way he's grateful for Einar, I guess in a way opening his eyes a little bit.
Oh, also we should mention, like, the main reason I think that Thorfinn was screaming in his sleep was because, like, when he had that vision of killing those soldiers, like right as he was slitting that, or cutting that one guy's head off, he was picturing the old woman from season 1, like being killed by him or killed by his hands, which is interesting because he kind of, like, I guess you could say he indirectly killed her because of what he did. He didn't actually kill her, but his actions led to Vikings raiding her village and probably killing her.
But yeah, thinking about what Einar was thinking about Thorfinn. Like, do you really think that Thorfinn's company could have been responsible to what happened to Einar's village, or is it just?
I mean, as far as we know, like Askeladd's mercenary group was fairly small. Like, I kind of doubt he had anything to do with that. Or at least not. I mean, maybe not directly, maybe indirectly in some way, but I don't know. I kind of doubt it. I don't think Askeladd really was involved in that.
Yeah, because around the time of what happened to Einar's village, I guess they said they mentioned it was something more about a little over a year before the events of this season.
Yeah.
So, and that was like also a year before Thorfinn ended up leaving Askeladd.
I will say, though, there are some things that Thorfinn did while he was with Askeladd that will, probably not in this season, but definitely in season 3, will come back to haunt him, in terms of something he did to a certain character that hasn't shown up in this season and probably won't show up in this season. But yeah, in regards to that, yeah, like you are kind of onto something with thinking that Thorfinn or Askeladd might have been involved in something that affected a character. But yeah, we haven't got to that yet. But yeah, and yeah, interestingly enough, we finally get to see, like, as the episode ends with a cameo or just kind of briefly showing Canute. It's kind of hard to recognize him because he does look kind of different. But that is actually Canute.
Yeah, he looks a little bit older than when we last saw him at the end of season 1.
Yeah,
unless they change his.
You do, of course, see him in the opening.
Yeah.
Also, yeah, his character has changed quite a bit in between seasons 1 and 2, which I'm interested for them to finally get to, because we're gonna see a completely different character from what we saw in season 1 in terms of Canute, what we know from Canute.
Yeah. Overall, I think this was a good episode. Definitely like a step up in developing, actually redeveloping Thorfinn a little bit and opening his eyes up a little. Thanks to Einar giving him a pep talk over Thorfinn's belief that nothing good has ever happened to him. During the last episode.
I feel like the more time he spends with Einar, the more his perspective on things is going to change.
This is definitely a big plus for helping Thorfinn, like, redevelop himself as a character ever since, like, he was mostly a bloodthirsty character by the end of the last season, after everything he's been through, going pretty much dead set and going after Askeladd, only for it to be robbed from from him at the last minute, thanks to Canute.
Yeah, and now of course, he's just left with this huge hole in his life. Now that he has no purpose, for no reason to live really. Because if we, from what we know of him from season 1, like he says in this episode, he's been fighting ever since he was 6. So like that's pretty much been his whole life, is just his revenge quest. So now that that's been taken from him, like what does he have to live for? So this whole season is just him like trying to find a reason to live, and trying to come to terms with there's more to live for than revenge, basically. But yeah, I thought the way they did this part of the manga in this episode was really good. Of course, it's been a while since I've read this arc in the manga, so I don't remember everything, but it seems like they're doing a pretty good job with adapting it fairly faithfully for the most part. And even, from what we saw in the first episode, adding a lot of anime original content, which actually helps to, in an interesting way, kind of expand on stuff that, manga readers didn't really get to see.
Oh yeah. I mean, of course, I haven't even read the manga, so.
Yeah.
But overall, for people who haven't read the manga, I think people will be pleased on on what's presented in this episode.
Yeah. But yeah, I don't really have too much else to say about it. I was really impressed by it. I always look forward to a new episode of Vinland Saga, but I don't know if you have anything else to say.
No, I'm definitely. I mean, considering that this is still a very slow season thus far, it definitely benefits with the whole character development between Einar and Thorfinn's relationship with each other.
Well, we definitely are going to most likely get more action scenes in the next episode, though, because the episode for you shows that we're finally getting to see, of course, Canute, but also Thorkel as well. So you already know there's going to be some stuff happening there. But yeah, and that all being said, guys, until next time, we will see you all later.